How good was that from Novak Djokovic? Best match he has put together in the closing stages of a Grand Slam in quite a while, and in doing so, he four-peats now at Wimbledon. Another successful title defense for Novak Djokovic at SW19, which is really becoming another home court away from home for Novak Djokovic. Now tied for second all-time in Wimbledon titles at 7 with Pete Sampras, and one short of Roger Federer with, it seems like, plenty of time to tie and potentially overtake that record. And I gotta say, this performance in the final against Nick Kyrgios, in retrospect of his career, it probably will not rank, among the highest of his Grand Slam wins, but definitely this was one of the cleaner matches in a Slam final that he has played, at least in his post-prime years, and I would say definitely of his four-peat finals here at Wimbledon. In fact, I would probably say the only match that I would say he played as well or potentially better in was the 2018 semi against Rafa Nadal, but for the way he played in this final, to be mentioned with that match is, definitely high praise. And straight off the bat, I gotta say congratulations to Novak Djokovic and his fans. This is a very meaningful title, I can imagine, considering what a difficult year it has been. Particularly off the court, of course, that goes without saying. I have been one to say that his tennis has clearly been there ever since, he hit his stride again in Rome and Madrid. But considering all that, it clearly had been a difficult year for Novak, and you saw all that emotion come pouring out after he won this match. Had to be a big sigh of relief considering, the future of when he next plays major tennis is definitely up in the air now, but for now, he wins this title, and it really is a vindication of his 2022 season. This really could have gone down as a lost year, which would have been very significant with both Nadal and Djokovic at the back end of their careers, even though they're still going on strong, but going slamless this year for Novak could have proven costly in the slam race. Obviously never would have been out of it, but it could have proven costly, and definitely the blow is softened a lot more with this title, and more importantly, he is back where he belongs, winning these big titles again. And if you didn't believe that Novak didn't still have his best stuff and wasn't capable of producing it due to all that has gone on this year, this tournament really should answer all questions about that. I was saying throughout the tournament, particularly with the two bigger tests he had on his way to the final, with Tim van Rijthoven providing some stiff resistance in the fourth round, and same with Jannik Sinner. But, Djokovic was able to squash those attempts at an upset once he really zoned in. And once he did, he produced some vintage stuff. And again, did the same in this final against Nick Kyrgios. I said it before, I'll say it again. I thought that Wimbledon 2022, Djokovic really showed some of those flashes of what I think is definitely his best tennis at this tournament since 2018. I didn't think he played his best when he won this tournament in 2019 and 2021, but the level that he produced at times during this year's tournament much more resembled the guy that has had such a mastery over center court and over grass in such a unique way that is so distinct only to him. And to me, at the end of the day, if the level of play is high, that's really all that matters. We can talk all day about the difficulty of the draws, and, those are subject to certain people's critiques, but, that's the case with a lot of the Big Three's draws ever since 2017 and on into their post-prime years. But as a fan, I don't think there's anything more gratifying than when you get those flashes of vintage play, because the days are long gone of them going through whole tournaments, match to match, playing their best tennis every single one of them. But when you get one of these matches where the guy just peaks in one of these finals, as Brad Gilbert would say, you got to get up. This really was one of those matches where you just gotta tip your cap. And, speaking of this match itself, I think for the most part, quite a high quality match. I've gone over the Djokovic performance ad nauseum, but Kyrgios also, for a first-time Slam finalist, he really did play quite well and gave a good showing of himself. I was wondering if nerves would be a factor for him in a first Grand Slam final, but it really wasn't. I think him not being able to keep his cool at portions of this match was really more of a disruption for him than it was the nerves or anything of that nature. I have begun to feel that a lot of what Nick does with his tantrums and antics of that nature are kind of done with the intent to disrupt his opponent and kind of suck them into all the chaos that he creates, and it worked against Tsitsipas as we saw earlier in the tournament, but I think that everybody knew that Djokovic was not about to get caught up in all that. And so all those antics really seemed to throw Nick off more than anything at certain points in this match, but over the course of it, for the most part, he was dialed in and didn't really let it bog him down long term. And I think that resulted in this match being decided pretty much exclusively within the lines of the court. And so what ended up unfolding was a pretty predictable, albeit entertaining match, no less. As I alluded to in my preview, Nick was going to have to serve bananas, and he did for most of this match. But the real discrepancy came in the returning, and with one of them being the greatest returner of all time, bar none, and the other having the return being the fatal flaw, really, in his game, it didn't take long for that dynamic to start weighing in this match, as save the 5-3 game in the second serving it out, where Nick definitely did botch some opportunities, didn't really even make Novak play on some makeable returns. But aside from those 4 breakpoint looks in that game, the Djokovic serve after the first set, for the most part, was really untouched. There were a few edgy moments in the fourth set, but for the most part, Djokovic did recognize how much of a liability that Kyrgios' forehand return was. And while I do think that it took longer than was expected for that serve to dial in, Djokovic's slice out wide on the deuce side, both on first and second serves, really did start doing some significant damage. And while Kyrgios is underratedly smart out there as far as tactics, there really was nothing he could do to get out of jail with that. But otherwise, I don't think there was much that he could have done. I mentioned earlier the opening in the 5-3 game with Djokovic trying to serve out the second set, as well as afterward a 40-love botched lead at 4-all in the third, and maybe this match could have looked slightly different if he took that 5-3 game in the second. However, I did always feel once Novak got out of that this match was on his racket. Once the returns started coming back from Djokovic, he really was on the back foot in this one, and you just knew there was really nothing he could have done to out-rally Novak, even as he tried to do a lot of different things, drop shot more, come into net. He was doing them from the beginning, but Novak was just way too sharp. And his ground game, on a day it was firing like it was in the final, it was never going to be enough, regardless of all the looks Kyrgios threw at him, all the different spins that Kyrgios threw at him. And while Nick really did rally well in this match, really as well as he could, I do feel like Novak started getting a lot more payoff with his own cross-court forehand That shot, whether off a set position or on the run, Djokovic was eliciting a lot of forced errors as well as short balls that he ultimately was able to break points open with. And yeah, it just was a returning masterclass, really, from the first game that Novak broke in the second set on. I've never seen the Kyrgios serve treated like that, especially on grass. These returns just kept coming back so deep. So much so that Nick couldn't do anything with those balls, or he was just on the back foot from the get-go. And it really did get to a point in this match where it seemed like if Kyrgios was not winning points outright with his serve, then it was pretty much Djokovic's point to lose. And the guy really was getting his racket on a couple of outrageously good serves. Ultimately, just way too good from Novak. He was just clearly a class above after that, again, feel out of a first set. And regardless of where we next see him, it definitely looks like he ain't slowing down anytime soon. So to wrap things up again, well-deserved win for Novak. I'm sure very sweet for him and his fans, his team, etc., etc. You guys all deserve your victory lap over the next couple of weeks. And we bring down the curtain on a very eventful Wimbledon Championships with, yet again, a familiar sight of Novak Djokovic taking a bite out of the grass. We got a bit more time now until August for the North American hardcourt swing, of course my favorite time of year. Gives me some freedom of what I want to do in between then. Maybe some more Big 3 historian stuff, maybe some storylines that I've noticed over this past year. We'll see whatever I settle on as far as filler in between, but I do love doing that stuff the most, quite frankly, so I am excited for that. Otherwise, that will do it for this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, it would be much appreciated if you could drop a like. Helps this video perform better in YouTube's algorithm, as well as subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Thank you all for watching again, and of course, I will see y'all in the next one.